Hey everybody, welcome back to On Stage, Off Stage. I am your host, George Sapio, and this is episode number 196, January of 2026. I want to wish a happy new year to everyone, and I dearly hope this next trip around the sun brings a dump truck of compassion, enlightenment, and kindness. Our guest this month is Joe Swenson, who is probably one of the busiest people in internet theater. He is a playwright, producer, author, owner slash president slash film producer slash writer slash director at Broken Arts Entertainment, which is an arts production house based in the great state of Maine. Joe and his Broken Arts Entertainment crew feature art in all forms meant to inspire conversation, get you to think, and their aim is to effect positive cultural change. Broken Arts Entertainment has hosted dozens and dozens and dozens of artists, featuring their work online and giving these creatives a place for others to appreciate and enjoy the fruits of their imaginations. Anybody who doesn't know about Broken Arts Entertainment has probably been living under a rock for the past few years, because you are all over the place. Let's put it this way. You've got over 1 million engagements across your platforms, 118 plus professionally produced shows heard in over 100 countries. Where did Broken Arts come from? And talk to me about why you called it Broken Arts.
All right. Wow. We'll get right into the meat of it. I love it. Great question. So Broken Arts was actually founded in 2015. So we have this thing in New England called Port Fringe, and in Port
I
Fringe
know it
15.
well. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I needed a production company, a, at least adjacent to running something to be separate from the writing. And I had written this show called We Are the Broken People, which we'll get into a little bit later, especially since my motivational or inspirational speaking calling comes from this idea. Um, when you really dive into what makes art, in my opinion, it's disrupting the status quo of storytelling. And that's what Broken Arts is really all about, is we disrupt the status quo mentality of writing and art. And so in 2015, we started with We Are the Broken People. And then we started really breaking art differently with, we had an improv troupe that was part of, that was under our umbrella called Self Improvement. And eventually, when the pandemic hit in 2020, when COVID hit, we provided some outlets for kids with and I've been working with kids for well over almost 2 decades now in
Mm.
theater, teaching theater and doing programs and stuff like that, and running other programs, including a program called Sing Dance Play. But we took the kids who were all of a sudden orphaned in the theater because there was no theater going on, and I put them into a web series called Playground Rules. And that's where we went from Broken Arts Productions to Broken Arts Entertainment. So we had changed it to we're gonna put an umbrella over all of this, everything that we're doing, and call it
Sure.
Broken Arts
Yeah.
Entertainment. Yeah. So that's how, and then we started doing web series. So we did Playground Rules, we did a standalone called Divine Books, and then we jumped into Quarantine 2030 hit, where we almost hit the jackpot. So close. But then we kind of cooled off for 2 years while people redefined who they were. And I had written a couple of shows for a series that I was just kind of entertaining the idea of, called A Fragile Mind. And one of them was actually, the first show was Rejuvenation Center. And it was based on a prompt that we got off of a Facebook page that you and I are connected to.
Mm.
And the prompt was rejuvenation. And so I was like, all right, yeah, let's see where I can go with this and see if I can build in the characters from a novel I wrote called Letter Number Three. So I was like, yeah, let's see. I don't know if it'll fit, but we'll try it out. And then we tried it out. I had a couple people join us to read from the same group, from the same connections group. And then one thing led to another, and we started to build. It took us almost a year, but we built this 13 episode series called A Fragile Mind. And that's our flagship. That's our flagship show. And
Right.
now we're up to 37 total shows, including 4 spinoffs. And season 3 will be coming out in the first right around the first end of the first quarter 2026. So, and it's because it's really what launched this idea that we could do this. So then I was like, all right, well, we if we can do this with what I write, imagine what we could do with what other people write. And so then we started to reach out and say, look, let's put some anthologies together. First one was Loved Ones. I think we had like 80 submissions, not a
Sure,
big
yeah.
number. Um, but then we're like, all right, that kind of worked. Let's try Good Vibes Summer. We got like 150 submissions. But by the time the end of 2024 happened, and we had almost 300 submissions for the future for
How do you
future
wade
anthology.
through 300 submissions?
Great question. So, and this
Because
is
I'm saying I put out calls for on stage, off stage,
mhm,
and
mhm.
this is me, just me, only me, nobody else. And I get upwards of 120 of these things. And just going through these after a while, it's daunting.
So this is great advice for anybody that's submitting to anything like us.
Yeah.
Is first of all follow the rules of the submission. And
Please.
I know. Well, and it's funny how many people don't, but it's an instant disqualifier. I'm not going to read work if you're not going to put in just a little bit of time to make the
Right.
adjustments that we need in order for and we're adapting plays to audio. So we're doing the lift on our
Mhm.
side to then create the scenic aspects of the play without asking the writer to recreate or to adapt themselves.
Right.
So, and we're not changing dialogue or anything like that, but we're doing all the hard work on our side. So follow the rules. If it's an anonymous submission, be anonymous. But that's usually about 16, I would say 16% of all submissions end up coming across our breaking a rule
Sure.
and immediately they're out. So I'm not even going to take the time. It's not worth it, especially now that we're beyond 300. I mean, our last Make Me Laugh had 480 submissions. So yeah, so we're beyond that world. But here's the other thing though, like you've got to hook somebody right. I mean, in the first 2 minutes, your characters need to be alive. They need to be compelling. You have to and you have to hook me right out of the gate. If you don't hook me right out of the gate, you're not making it to the second round. And so you followed all the rules, great. But if I'm not interested in if I haven't bought into your characters or if I haven't bought into the hook initially, it's going to be hard for me to get through. The only times that I will go beyond that is if it's a known writer to me, then
Yeah.
I'll go a little bit further. But once we get down to, and I'm trying to break it down to like 100 to 120, and once we do that, then I have a panel of readers that will then go through and rate. And we have a 10-star 10 question process that is built to create give us the best of the best. So when
Hmm.
you're hearing our shows, like those are the best 21 shows out of 300 plus that were submitted. And it's the when you listen to the shows, and you had one of the shows in one of our anthologies, when you
Yes.
listen to the shows, it's obvious that they were one of the best of the 21 shows that were submitted. I mean, of the 300 plus shows that were submitted.
Right.
So, and that's how we get there. And it is completely anonymous. The readers have no idea who's written. It stays that way all the way through to the end until we get to selection. There are a couple times, especially since I'll submit shows as well, just to I just like to see. We all have that imposter syndrome. I'm like,
Oh,
let's see
yes,
if
we
my
do. Yes.
my see if my show makes it through. But like for the future, I had 3 shows that were actually made it to selection. And I'm like, we're not going to. Joe Swenson should not have 3 shows in an anthology. That's not the purpose. So I made my entire company select the one show that we would put through,
Right.
and it ended up being Day Month Year. And there was a fight over it. Like it was like, no, this was my favorite. It was awesome, but
It's nice to be fought over, isn't it?
it is wasn't my intent, but that's how it ended up coming out, and we ended up with Day Month Year, which turned out really amazing. Um, so yeah, so why Broken Arts though? So I, I people go one or two ways when I say this, but um, I come from a pretty broken world. Like I come from I'm a first generation college graduate. I'm within my family. Um, my father disowned my original my biological father disowned me. I had a horrific experience from age 5 to age 12, where me and my sister landed on milk cartons. So if you're
Mm,
familiar with what that means, then you
yeah,
have an idea. Yep. So so I come, and with that you get demons, but you also get amazing storytelling, and we'll get into the inspirational part here in a little bit, but
sure. Yeah,
it's what you end up with is you'll never fully be healed. Like you can't ever fully be healed when you go through trauma like that. And that trauma could be an instantaneous 5-second trauma, or it could be a 7-year trauma like what I went through, or longer, or whatever.
right.
Um, but it leaves a scar. And that scar is a representation of your brokenness, in my opinion. And I'm not saying brokenness as a negative. I'm saying it as a launching point, as a way to find people that are like you. Because we're told two things, especially if it happens in childhood. We're told kids are resilient, and they're only resilient if they're loved. Like if they can
Yes.
get to being loved, then they are resilient. But if they are not loved, then they have to find another way. So we're told that. But we're also told we have to get over whatever we went through. We have to get over it. Like
I
we're
love that phrase,
victims.
don't you?
Yeah, yeah. We're victims, then we're survivors,
Yeah.
and the survivor word is weaponized against us, saying you've survived, move on. And there's one more piece that nobody really talks about, and that's how you champion what you went through in order to help others and help yourself. Like, and that's the piece that people are missing, and they try to keep us separate from each other. And I always gravitate towards people that are broken because I am broken. Like that's part of who I am, and that's why we are called Broken Arts Entertainment. And what's really amazing, and this is when when we went outside in 2024, when we went outside the company to recruit people that had nothing, had no idea who we were initially. I mean, they had an idea because we're in so many different platforms, but
Sure.
they didn't
Yeah.
really know what the company was about. And when we interviewed them without a fault, every single one of these emerging artists, actors, performers, every single one of them had something that could relate to being broken. Now, they may not have called themselves broken, but they had something. And what's really interesting, George, is that over the last year, the core dynamics of our company has changed significantly. There are people in our company that I didn't know a year ago that are core members. Like we couldn't live without them. And they are core
Yeah.
members right now. And that's because of who we are, just because of that broken arts idea.
How many
And we
people
look
are
at
in
it
your company right now?
contractually 52. We have 52 people in our company.
Wow, contractually.
Yeah, yeah. So we have it's contractually 52. We are going to be trimming off 17 to 20 that are either that have kind of there's been a little bit of attrition. And
Sure.
so yep, and we'll be adding, 15 or so to replace. We're actually have a call out right now for that. So I mean, in 4 days, like this is how popular Broken Arts is. In 4 days, I have over 100 that have submitted to become parts of Broken Arts, and
Nice.
that's 4 days. We're 4 days into that. So,
Well, I mean,
Great.
considering how long you've been around and how much you've done, you're extremely well known throughout the internet theater world, especially when it comes to play production and promoting new artists and all the work you've done. So yeah, I'm not surprised that that many people want to be a part of it.
yeah, it's great. I mean, when I initially started the company, like it was really when we made this switch to audio drama, it was really just to see where we could go with my work. But then it became more important for me to lift others. I mean, it's still important to me to lift my work, but
Sure, yeah,
it's just as, if not more important, to lift others' work. And when after Ali Cantor submitted
hmm
Reanima, and we produced it, and it's been part of major awards throughout the country. Um, we're like, Ali, do you want to write a series for us? Like that's what it turned into. And she's like, yeah, of course I do. And I was like, yeah, let's go.
yeah.
And so she
She's a
wrote
great
Choose the
writer. She's
Bear.
wonderful. I love her
Oh,
stuff. Oh my goodness,
yes.
yeah,
She's amazing. She's so smart. Like
yeah.
she's
hmm
so smart and witty, and she really has a love affair with her characters, and you can tell
Yeah,
it's just incredible. So
she brings a beautiful humanity to her work.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's Broken Arts.
How do you deal with the fact that this little company that you started on your own to promote your own work has now grown into this behemoth.
Yeah.
Because it's so,
Um,
I mean, you got 52 people here. All right, you're going to have 30 in a couple of days, or however many you have. And it's the reach of what you do is incredible. So being at the, at the foremast of this thing, how do you deal with that?
I couldn't do it by myself. I'll start with that. Like
Yeah.
it definitely, because we have become such a behemoth, as you, in your words, we
I meant
wouldn't
that in
be
a good
where
way. Okay.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. We wouldn't be here without Hannah Lee DeFreitas, who's Hannah Lee DeFreitas is a star. First of all, as soon as she realizes how good she is from a performer standpoint, I hope she still comes back and visits us every now and then. But she's amazing, and she's
She was in one of my
also
productions too. You put her in one of my
was
plays.
she great?
Yeah. 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 She was
Yeah,
wonderful.
she's her emotive, the complexity of her emotional performances are just through the roof
Yeah.
amazing. But she's also our vice president of marketing operations. Everything you see on socials, like that's something that her team has created. And we have a team of marketing specialists. I have a graphics designer, Kathy Tran. I have a marketing manager and content contributor in Bernie Horton. Our IMDb profiles are updated by Emily Morse Lee. And those three, Kathy, Bernie, and Emily, I didn't know them a year ago.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's just, and and we wouldn't be where we are without their contributions. The other thing, George, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is we wouldn't be where we are without adding more editors to the scene as well. And
Hmm.
so that's another piece is Yana Ramos, Bob Sawyer, Claire Shadray, Steve Mize, who's dabbled a little bit in some of our editing. We wouldn't be where we are without them as well, because that's a lot of, as you mentioned, 118 plus
Yeah.
shows, professional quality. We wouldn't have I mean, that's a lot for one person to edit, but five, it might be a little more manageable. So,
Sure. Yeah. It's it's quite the accomplishment, and I've been following you guys for a while, and it's absolutely amazing the reach you've attained and the quality of the work that you've produced. And I'm not just talking about the 2 episodes of mine you put out there. There's some incredible work that's sitting out there right now, and I encourage anybody who hasn't heard any of this work to go out there right now, as soon as this interview is over, and go take a look at your stuff. Either brokenarts.com, right?
yep,
Uh,
brokenartsentertainment.com.
brokenartsentertainment.com, or
Yeah,
find them on YouTube because they're all over the place.
all over the
Um,
place.
you have a couple of things that you said that I want to ask you about.
Mhm.
And you talked about lifting the voices of the marginalized, providing lift to emerging artists or artists that have had fringe level success. And here's the part I want to ask you about, or artists that have something to prove.
Mm.
Okay, now being a writer myself and being full of stories that I need to get on paper and develop and do all the work for, I'm wondering, is that different than artists who simply have something to say? And I don't mean that simply something to say because we have stories that we want to tell, okay, that are inside of us that need to get out. And is that different than having something to prove?
It's a little bit different. It really is. So, having something to say and being able to tell the story is a very important piece of being being a writer, being
Yeah.
a creator. That's super important. But having something to prove changes it from not just having something to say, but there's something that you want. There's something that you're going after, or there's something that you're either proving to yourself or you're challenging yourself. And when you have something to prove, then you're working through growth. And that want to grow, that want to succeed, that want to prove to yourself or those around you or your community or anybody that you're whatever way you measure success, that person's going to be motivated and energized to do two things. One, for us, they're going to market and they're going to become fans because of the way we operate. They're going to love us. So that writer that has something to prove, who is also having something to say and everything else, they're going to go another step with us, and that's great for our business model. That's great for
Yeah.
them as well because they're going to be able to use our platform to launch from. So, and it's no different than the writer who has a chip on their shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that, when you have whatever it is, I'll give you an example. Like I early on, I would say it was 2020, and we were just kind of figuring out what we were doing, and we were about to get a We were on the verge of a Hulu contract with Quarantine 2038, this web series that we had created through. It was like 80% Zoom, 20% cinematics,
Hmm.
and I had somebody that I respected dearly said the worst two words that you could say to a creator, and he called Broken Arts a passion project. And but
Really?
yeah, so it was, but this was almost 6 years ago,
Sure.
5 years ago. Um, Said it was a passion project, and that while it's the two worst things you could say, it also were the two most motivating words that you could use to remove, because my goal was to remove the word passion project from Broken
Hmm.
Arts. It's not a passion project. We're here to lift voices. We're here to provide the emerging artists with a voice that without I mean, it's funny because I had a conversation with a contemporary who's also in this industry, and he's like, I go, I don't want to be the gatekeeper, but I I want to be the person who lifts voices without prejudice. I want to be that person.
Right.
Um, and without, because I mean, it's easy to say, all right, well, we get Emmy award winning writers. We had an Oscar nominated writer in the Make Me Laugh anthology that didn't make it to the semifinals. And it would be easy for me to say, man, we're going to push that person through,
Right.
but they didn't
Because they're an Oscar
because
winner. Yes. Yeah.
right, right. Because it would, I mean, from a business standpoint, it would be amazing. But then again, I didn't because we want the best of the best. And then from there, we provide, and you see my emails, I'm sure, but we
Hmm.
provide reasons for the writers to want to prove that this is a good genre for them, that they've made it this far. This is amazing. We try to build it up through praise. And as long as they have something to prove, and as long as our actors have something to prove, and our audience eats it up and they love that
Yeah.
aspect. So it's really comes down to the want. Like when a writer artist has something to prove, then they're really going to go after it hard. And we're there to provide them with the momentum and the opportunity.
Excellent. I want to harken back to something you mentioned earlier, and it just reminded me of a story that happened a number of years ago, um, talking about being broken and all the things in life that happen to you, whether you're a child or whether you're a teenager or whether you're an adult, all these unfortunate things that you can't erase from your life, that you can learn to adapt with, not leave behind, because you can't leave these things behind you. They are a part of you, like it or not. And whether they haunt you day by day or whether they're just in the back of your mind, just waiting to come out when you're feeling vulnerable, who knows? After I first started writing, a friend of mine said to me, because we're very close, and we talked about things that we really didn't talk about with anyone else. And this person said to me, all the stuff that's happened to the two of us, because they're a writer as well. They said, these are not the things that are the chains around our ankles, preventing us from being whole people. These are our fuel for the things that we are going to tell other people. And that might have been the wisest thing this person has ever said in their entire life, but it's a good thing. And I learned to look at things completely differently that way now. And um, it opened up a whole lot of doors
That's
for
awesome.
what is permissible to talk about and what is permissible to write about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
um, normally I ask my guests the usual softball question, why did you start becoming a playwright and why did whatever. Let me ask you this. When did you start storytelling?
Ah. Um, so when I was in high school, we had this so I was 15 years old. We had and I had gone through a whole bunch of stuff up until age 12.
Yeah.
And then so 15 years old, and this girl says to me, her name's Kristen Olin. Shout out to Kristen Olin. Hey, you should audition for Brigadoon musical. And I was a sophomore in high school, so I was like, ah, and I played on the football team, and I was like, nah, I don't want to, who wants to do theater? I auditioned, I got a role, and out of 270 kids that auditioned, because went to a massive school, and
Yeah.
John Kerr, who was the director, pulled me aside and he said, "Have you thought about doing theater? Like, seriously?" And I was like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, all the boys in my school are doing sports.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that's kind of the way it works. He's
It's
like,
one of those things that can separate you from one aspect of the school society to another.
right, right. And I was kind of a chameleon a little bit, but I wasn't really. I mean, I was very jock oriented. And he said to me, he goes, "Look, you are a brilliant storyteller with your face, with your voice. You should really give theater a chance." And I think it was him planting that seed that I was a storyteller. That didn't turn me away from sports because I still played baseball and football, but I did like I took all of his theater classes. I did everything theater related. By
Yeah.
the time I got to my senior year, I was a teacher's assistant in beginning drama. I was in intermediate drama because that's where all the fun was. I was in third year drama, which was a college prep class. Um, I did the sixth. I was part of the sixth. We called it the sixth period acting ensemble, where we traveled around to local schools and we performed. We even went to Oktoberfest in Germany and
Wow.
performed. Yeah, it was incredible. And so, but it was him opening that door that said, "I'm a storyteller." Now, I wrote my first play called Garbage when I was a senior in high school, and but I didn't really ever go back to it because of something that happened to me my senior year in high school that was traumatic to a different degree. And so I didn't go back to it. I kind of tabled, I still did theater. I still did and a lot of theater adjacent type things, but I didn't really get back into playwriting until 2015.
Hmm.
And that's, yeah. So I was, that was 23 years later.
Okay, so since
Um,
2015, which at this date is 10 years, you've written over 140 plays.
yeah, we're closing in on, I'm really close to 200 total plays and episodes. Yep.
Do you
In 10,
sleep? Do
in 10
you
years.
eat? Do you change your clothes? I mean,
I do change my clothes.
okay. Well, thank God for yes.
Do I sleep? No. And you can talk to anybody that knows me that like I am available 24/7 to everybody, essentially. Like Hannah DeFreitas and I will have conversations at 3 a.m. because there's a story that's come up in our minds and we're like,
Yeah.
hey, how do we explore this? And it's not just Hannah, it's Steve. I mean, also I have company members that are between the UK and California. So I've got, that's a lot of time zones to cover. And so
Mhm.
Paul Delaross may want to talk to me when he gets up at 9, 6, 7 a.m. He's on he lives on a farm in the UK, and it's I'm still up because it's 1 a.m. But then I've got Steve where it's Steve Mize in California, Kathy Tran in California, where it's like, it's 10 p.m. their time and it's 1 a.m. So I'm having a conversation with somebody from the UK at the same time that I'm having a conversation with somebody from California. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just, it's just one of these. Um, no, I don't sleep. I don't.
I understand the drive. I really do. Uh, you
when
sort
you
of go
sorry
ahead. Yeah. No.
when you start doing this for others, like I think
Yeah.
that was the big change for me is when you're not doing it just for yourself, and just get your voice out, or for the cathartic parts of writing, which obviously I participate in that aspect a lot. But when you're doing it for others, there's this whole different drive that happens. You mentioned drive, but
Yeah.
it's like we've been in fifth gear now, and we're not even close to our destination. We've been in fifth gear now for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to be a part of, but it's amazing to see where we were and what we started with to where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. The growth has been amazing. You had a stint in the Marines for a while.
Yes.
And first of all, thank you so much for donating part of your life to the service of our country.
Thank you.
It is appreciated. But you started an acting troupe.
I did.
Okay, so acting troupe in the Marines, which to those uninitiated, I'm thinking, Marines are so regimented. You do this at a particular time, and you do this a certain way, and da 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 da. And but acting is the exact opposite. It's improv. It's what do you feel?
Right.
What do you do? How do you make this? What was that like?
So, um, so initially, I was 19 years old when we started this troupe, and I just happened to get with the right group of guys, essentially. And we were like, all of us had done theater at some point in high school and or in our lives, and we're like, let's do something. We have this big stage. I was stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. We had this giant stage that was unused. So I went to the property or to the director of it's called MWR, Marine Military Welfare Recreation, something like that. MWR, I think. So I went to the director and I said, "Hey, can we use your stage?" Like I wanted to start with that. I'm like, can we use the stage? What were you looking to use it for? I'm like, we're thinking about putting on a play. Like, really? Yeah, I think so. And they're like, yeah, we could try that. Yeah, we could see that. We have a slot available in November. Now, this was like April. I was like, okay, we'll take
Okay.
November. I'll take November. I'll take it. And then we were given like specific parameters of the shows that we could put on. And like it had to be couldn't be anything that was against the military, political, nothing political or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, sure. Well, since we're using marine government facility to put on a show, it makes sense. And so we landed on this show called My Son is Crazy but Promising. And um, we had originally we were going to cast only Marines, but then there a bunch of the dependents, Marine Corps dependents, caught
Hmm.
wind of this, and they're like, "Well, we want to also play. Like, we want to be part of this too." And I was in the air wing, so Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. I was in the air wing, so we had about 10,000 Marines that were stationed at Cherry Point, North Carolina, and a lot of them were like officers' wives, things like that. So we ended up we had an open audition. We ended up casting all the roles. There was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 roles in the show. I don't even know if you can find it now, but
Yeah. Well, yeah.
if fun thing to look up. Um, and we did the show, and it was a hit. We had like 1,000 people come see this stupid little comedy about a producer who's trying. I mean, it's just the dumbest show. Um, and so we're like, let's do this again. So then we're like, what's another show? And one of the dependents said, well, we should do Steel Magnolias. We're in the South. Most of the people here are, they're not really South adjacent or South adjacent, part of the South, or
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
moving north or somewhere else. So I was like, yeah, Steel Magnolias has no men's roles though. That's going to be a tough thing. And so we reached out to the playwright or to the writer for Steel Magnolias and said, "Hey, can we have the hairdresser be a Marine, a boy, a guy?" And because in the contract it said no,
Yeah.
and they responded back, "Yes, go for it." I was like, "Great!" So we had one guy and a bunch of women in the show, and I directed it. 19-year-old Joe directing Steel Magnolias.
Why not?
Why not? And I ended up, we had a great run. We ran it 3 weeks and sold out houses, and people loved it. And we just kept rolling with it. And then,
Nice.
yeah, and you'd lose. So one of the things that you lose is Marines get deployed all the time. So
Right.
we'd lose like a lead in a show, and we're like, all right, we got to. So we'd end up in a situation where we cast shows twice, so that we did, in the event that we lost somebody that
Exactly.
they
Yes.
went to
Well,
deployed or
stand-in.
whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Standby.
Yeah,
And
and so we came
yeah.
up with some really cool strategies, and it was pretty awesome.
Nice. Good for you. That sounded like a lot of fun, and it sounded like something the armed forces could use a little bit more of is distraction of that nature.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to hit you with this quickly.
Okay.
Everyone believes they are a unicorn.
I know. Exactly.
What does that mean?
That you're one of a kind,
Okay.
and especially in the artist in our world, playwrights, artists of all your creators, they all believe that they're one of a kind, and and I wouldn't say so we definitely do things differently or broken arts than other like whether it's audio drama production companies or how we do our processes, like those are different than what most companies do.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's strategic and we're constantly improving, and that's something that does that. But I think I'm a unicorn because I am somebody who is equally involved in both athletics, especially teaching, coaching, baseball. I was almost a pro baseball player, and theater, acting, the audio drama genre that we're in.
Sure.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like there aren't many like me. There definitely aren't companies like Broken Arts. And so we're forging our own path. We're a disruption. We're so much of a disruption that one of the largest podcasts, audio drama podcasts in the world, just reached out to me this week and said, "What are you doing?" Not what are you doing as in you shouldn't be doing it. Just what are you doing? I want to know. And I was like, that's huge. Like
Yeah.
when you're creating that kind of disruption, like I met with a company out of New York City called AR19, ART 19. You think it's Art 19, but it's not. It's ART 19. I met with them yesterday, and they are a podcast platform, and she couldn't believe the success that we've had as an audio drama, audio fiction house. And I explained to her, this is how we do it. This is what we've set up. We created this festival level podcast that's on off of Podbean, and we're averaging about 50,000 listens a month on that, and it's been incredible. She couldn't believe it. In
Yeah.
fact, she couldn't believe it so much that she needed me to show her. So I shared my screen and I showed her our stats on Podbean that we had, that we're over 250,000 since August 5th. Like, it's been we're on an incredible run. The momentum is fabulous right now.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, it comes with its stresses. We're still an entrepreneurial based company. We're still very much in the infancy of what we're trying to create. And I don't know that we'll ever be in a situation where we're just going to, all right, here we go, set it and forget it kind of style. That's never going to happen with us, because this journey that we're on is we're running from where we started, and we're just going to keep going until we break everything, essentially.
It's been a good run so far, and you have managed to create something huge in an extremely short period of time. It's a testament to your own dedication and to the dedication of the people you have working with you. So congrats to everyone who's part of this, making this happen. It's wonderful. Um, you're a motivational speaker.
Mm-hmm.
How did you fall into that? And what's up? What's your focus on that?
That's a great question. I've alluded to I've alluded to several of the subjects that I cover the most,
Yeah.
which is one is the want, and I talk a lot about want versus need, um, and especially in my speaking. But it all comes from when I was what I went through as a child, as a teenager as well. You go through trauma, and sometimes on the other side, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to this. You feel alone. You feel by yourself, or you're trying to figure things out on your own, or the advice that you're getting is advice that's keeping you stagnant instead of growth related. And so I talk a lot about what I went through. I'll start with what I went through, and then I talk about this other thing, which is probably the coolest thing I talk about. I think it's the one that draws people the closest to what I talk about. And that's that no matter what you've gone through on the other side, and I alluded to it a second ago with victim, survivor, champion, kind of that
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah.
The champion realizes what superpowers they have. And I'm not saying that the mainstream world wants to keep people that are broken down, but I will say that it's a scary proposition when you understand that when you've gone through something, and you talked about it with the playwright friend of yours, like, hey, we're going to use this as a motivation. That's the fuel.
Yeah.
Well, same thing. Like when you've gone through something, yeah, you're a victim. And yes, you survived it, which is incredible. And now you have to, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to, how you, first of all, what skills did you learn from it? And then what are you going to do with it? And one of the things, and why writing is such a great outlet, and creating is such a great outlet for me because my superpower is emotional awareness. Like I can look at somebody sitting in a chair as I drive by, and I can understand and feel their emotion, whatever it is, as a result of what I went through. And a lot of it's because of like, when you're locked in a closet. So I'll throw that in there. When you're locked in a closet, you hear somebody walking towards you. You hear them walking towards you, and you can tell by the way they're walking. You can tell by the sound of the footsteps, the way the feet are connecting with the floor. You can tell what emotion that they're coming to visit you with. When that happens, when you see that, when you can get that granular with the emotional complexities that are out there,
Yeah.
that's a superpower. I mean, I also have great environmental awareness as well, which is part of the reason why my writing really gets to when you combine emotional and you combine environmental awareness, you get to see everything with my writing. So it makes it a little bit different. But also what I talk about to people is, so what do you need to do to get to that champion? And here's the thing. People talk about want and need. And don't get me wrong, when somebody says you need to do something, oftentimes it's an outside, it's an, what's that called? It's an outside motivator for,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, but when you want something, and we're conditioned to not want things in our lives, but when you want something, that's an intrinsic motivator. That's something that you, the only way that somebody can you bring that down is if they tell you you need to do something differently, which is associated with their want, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Not so I talk a lot about how one, everybody has superpowers if you've been through something. If you've been through something, you have a superpower. Don't let other people keep you down. Find people that you can relate to, find people that you can, really gravitate towards those pieces of the community, and then figure out how you can use your superpower for good. And I'm not saying like you're telekinetic or
No, no,
telepathic or
no,
anything
no.
like
Sure.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but emotional awareness, that's a big one. Another one, I mean, and that you can also like a lot of people go to emotional manipulation as well, which is not, while it's still a superpower, it's not the one anybody really wants, right?
Right.
But if you can use emotional manipulation in a positive way to positively impact people, there is that as well. So there's a positive, even a positive side of that negative connotation.
Well,
So
it depends
that's
on your superpowers used for good or evil.
exactly. Are you the villain or are you the hero? And I think a lot of people who have been through stuff have, like I know me, little Joey locked in a closet for a long time,
Yeah.
wanted a superhero, wanted somebody to come through the door and save me. And it eventually happened, not in the way I ever imagined, but it eventually happened. And it was um in it destroyed a big part of me, my family, everybody that was involved. It destroyed a big part of us for a long time, to the point where my mom made really bad choices when I was in high school and she ended up in prison, which led to me joining the Marine Corps instead of going to Cornish College of the Arts where I had been accepted.
Yeah.
I just like I need to get out of town because people already knew who I was thanks to the Seattle media. They already knew who I was. I was all over King 5 when we were found, when me and my sister were found in Kansas
Yeah.
and brought back home to Seattle. And everybody interviewed us. We're on PM Magazine, all this stuff. And so people already knew who I was. And then for my mom to go to prison for embezzlement, that was a massive hit to the everything that we had created over the 4 or 5 years to kind of separate
Yeah.
from the other event. And so I was like, all right, I'm out of here. So I called the Marine Corps recruiter and Air Force recruiter and said, whichever one of you gets to me first gets me. Marine Corps won. And I left. So anyway, so yeah, so it's really comes down to, for me anyway, it really is how you channel what you learned
Yeah.
and understanding that and it's okay that you don't. I'm not saying that everybody has to do this, but more often than not, especially people that have been abused in any kind of way, they have this incredible awareness that they can tap into. And they may have shut it down. Like sometimes it's too loud. Sometimes the noise is too loud. And I think that's why a lot of people who've been through trauma turn to drugs, turn to
Something to
whatever it
turn the
takes
noise
to
down. Yeah. Turn,
either
turn, yeah. Turn the pain
turn the
down.
right, exactly. Turn the noise, turn the
Yeah.
pain down, or to get the endorphins to be louder than anything else. And it's
Well, folks who've gone through that have a whole range of abilities to recognize pain, trauma, experience in others than
right.
people who have not
Correct.
been there. I recognize that look. I see that look. I recognize the way that person is holding themselves. You become attuned to things that, other people haven't had the misfortune to go through
Yeah,
or
exactly.
experience to go through. Yeah.
And when you
Incredible.
think about like the show Angel Flight, which you know,
Yeah, sure.
um, I mean that show is taken from I was sitting in on a flight to Detroit. Now in the Marine Corps we had Angel flights, but they were mostly military transport. But I was sitting on the tarmac, on a flight from Detroit, and I saw in the front in first class, I saw this young woman who had been in tears for pretty much the entire flight. And that's that's what created Angel Flight.
Yeah,
And then the pilot came over and said, hey, this is an Angel Flight. Please let's wait till the family and the military personnel that are on wait for them to exit.
yeah.
And we saw the casket removed from the plane and all that stuff. Like it was very emotional. And so that's where I got the idea for Angel Flight from.
That's a beautiful play, by the way. I know I've said this before, but yeah, it's a very powerful, very poignant look at something that many of us have not had a chance to see before. So thank you
Right.
for that. Joe Swenson, this has been absolutely wonderful, enlightening, and just so entertaining to be able to talk to you about the creation and the success of Broken Hearts Entertainment and your own writing and your own experiences. Thank you for being here and so open and so honest with us.
Thank you for having me, George, and thanks for being such a willing participant in this experience, in this experiment that I call Broken Arts Entertainment as well. So I appreciate you.
Hey kids, thanks for listening to Onstage Offstage. Onstage Offstage is produced monthly, and all of our shows can be found at onstageoffstage.org and also on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnOffStage. And if you are a theater artist with an upcoming project or interest, or know of someone in the theater world who'd make good chat, by all means, send us a note at onstageoffstagepodcast@gmail.com. Our theme music is Don't Worry, Be Frappy by the composer Max Dickinson. You can find a lot more of Max's magnificent music on SoundCloud. I'm George Sapio. Thanks once again for listening, and please be kind to those with whom we share this rock. And as always, happy theatering to all of you.